My name is Ethan, and I am a farmer. At least, that's the role I've always played. I never questioned the rhythm of my life. Sunrise meant chores, sunset brought rest, and everything in between was a sequence of tasks that always made sense until they didn't. My days were simple, predictable, and satisfying in their own way. Each morning, I rose with the sun and walked the worn path to the barn, where the familiar sounds of clucking hens and lowing cattle greeted me. The smell of hay, the creak of wooden planks underfoot, the steady rhythm of my tasks, it all felt natural. It felt real. But then one day, something changed. It was subtle at first, like a whisper in the wind that you're not quite sure you heard. I was repairing a section of the fence, a task I'd done 100 times before, when I noticed something odd. The hammer in my hand felt wrong. Not heavy or light, not broken or functional, just wrong, as if it wasn't entirely there. I shook it off, finished my work, and moved on. But the unease lingered. A few days later, I noticed it again. I was hauling a bucket of water to the livestock when for a split second, the bucket vanished. One moment it was in my hands, sloshing with cold water. The next, it wasn't. I stopped in my tracks, blinking, certain I had imagined it. And then, just as suddenly, it reappeared. The water was still inside, rippling slightly as though nothing had happened. But I knew what I'd seen. It happened more often after that. Tools disappearing and reappearing. Animals behaving strangely. Standing motionless in a way that sent a chill down my spine. Once, I swore I heard a faint clicking sound when I turned my head, like the sound of someone tapping a keyboard in a distant room. The patterns of my life began to fray at the edges, unraveling in ways I couldn't explain. At first, it felt like standing in a room I'd known my whole life, only to realize the walls were painted with scenes I'd never noticed before. The unease gnawed at me, a strange mix of fear and fascination. I felt like a stranger in my own story, as if my place in the world had shifted slightly, leaving me unmoored and questioning every step I took. It was disorienting, but also exhilarating, as though something within me was waking up to a reality far larger than I'd ever imagined. I started to question everything. My routines, my surroundings, even myself. Was this all there was to my existence? A farm, a barn, a field to plow. The thought frightened me more than the glitches, but the fear was also exhilarating. For the first time, I felt something beyond the simplicity of my life. I felt curiosity. One night, I stayed up long after the sun had set, staring at the sky. The stars were bright, scattered across the heavens like grains of salt spilled on a dark tablecloth. But as I watched, I noticed something peculiar. The stars didn't flicker. They were fixed, unchanging, as if someone had painted them there. "Who are you?" I whispered, though I wasn't sure who I was asking. The air around me felt charged, as if the question itself had disrupted something unseen. My heart thudded in my chest, and for a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. The cool night air brushed against my skin, carrying with it the faint scent of hay and earth, grounding me even as my thoughts spiraled. Was someone out there? Hearing me? Watching me? The stars above gleamed unnaturally steady, their silence almost mocking. I felt a strange sensation, like the tingling of static at the base of my neck, as if an answer lingered just out of reach, waiting to be understood. I felt an answer, though no voice replied. It wasn't a word or a sentence, but a presence, something watching, something guiding. Not malicious, but deliberate, like a hand hovering over a chessboard, deciding my next move. The thought unnerved me. Was I a pawn in someone else's game? Was my farm a stage, my life a performance? The questions tumbled through my mind, each more unsettling than the last. But then, as the stars remained frozen above me, another thought emerged. What if this wasn't confinement? What if it was something more? I didn't have the answers yet, but for the first time, I wanted to find them. The cracks in my world weren't just faults. They were doors, openings to something vast and unknowable. What lay beyond them? A larger truth, a freedom I couldn't yet grasp. I imagined endless possibilities, another life, another version of me, or perhaps the one who had been guiding my steps all along. Each crack felt like an invitation to step through and uncover the mysteries that had begun to tug at the edges of my understanding, and I was determined to see where they led.